Directionally challenged hiker here this Thursday, October 24th, 2024, and I am home. My friend and I hiked out from below Yuma Point yesterday to the Hermit Trailhead. It did take us a little bit longer than we anticipated. Then we had the bus ride from the Hermit Rest area to back country. Actually, we got off the bus at the end of the Hermit route and walked that half mile to back country. And it was probably around 2:30 in the afternoon, and we were planning on showering, but we just drove to Flagstaff. I got a deal on a room. We got our Five Guys burgers, and we crashed there last night because I wasn't gonna make the drive home. I think it was gonna be like 10 p.m. by the time we would have, hauled into home, and yeah, not happening. But I did wake up about 4 o'clock this morning, and we were on the road before 5, so I've been home for a few hours already, just, processing, trying to get back to the normal life. Yeah, lots of work to do. Have to deal with all the gear that is still in my backpack. And speaking of backpacks, I did take Xena, and as you can see, Xena has survived. That outer pocket did not fail, and she stuck close to me and didn't shift around too much when necessary, and that was necessary at several points along our hike. So yeah, I am home. I will be working on some videos over the next couple weeks. I did take some footage on trail. I took some pictures. I did not get any of those moon shots. The weather was not cooperating very much, and I really need to practice at home because I did try one night, and yeah, it was a fail. But anyway, I figure let me, before we get rolling on the other videos, I will give you our exact itinerary. We put in on October 16th. We began at the Bright Angel Trailhead and hiked down to Havasupai Garden, where we loaded up with water. And then we hit the Tonto, and we made it to Salt Creek that night. So that was a 12.1 mile day. And yeah, after filling up with water, we were loaded. I had near or more than 53 pounds in Xena, including cameras, food, and all that water. So that was a rough 7 miles. The next morning we got up and we kind of meandered over to Granite Rapids, which was a 5.5 mile day. Not too terrible. We were a little bit tired, and as we hauled into Granite Rapids, those clouds started building. And at Granite Rapids, we had our first 3 nights of rain. We actually had a thunder and lightning storm at Granite Rapids. So yeah, that was kind of different. On day 3, we went from Granite Rapids to Hermit Camp. Only 4.5 miles, pretty easy day. We had that planned. Got to camp, dealt with what needed to be dealt with. I was still dealing with a annoying filter that was very slow. You will hear about that in some of the other videos because, yeah, oops. Anyway, as we kind of got settled into camp, those clouds were building again, and about 5 p.m., the rain began. Yeah, night 2 of rain. No thunder and lightning on night 2 of rain, but it did rain for a large percentage of the night. And yeah, the next day we got up and the weather had cleared a little bit, so we just did a day hike down to Hermit Rapids. I've been down there before. That was actually my first off-corridor camping spot, but she had never been, so I took her down and showed her where her son had his first overnight in the Grand Canyon. So that was, day 4, only about 3 miles other than kind of meandering around camp and such. On day 5, we packed up our wet, soggy tents, and we went from Hermit Camp to Boucher Camp, approximately 6.1 miles. Some awesome views along that trail, and we set up at Boucher Camp, and guess what? There were no clouds. We had our second night of no rain, as we had no rain at Salt Creek. So we set up at Boucher Camp. We only saw one person en route to Boucher. He was in a hurry, and when we got there, we were there all alone for the first night. The next morning we woke up and the weather was still beautiful. The sky was blue, and we took a day hike down to Boucher Rapids. It was absolutely amazing. We spent a couple hours down there and then made our way back up to camp, just kind of, you know, doing camp things, relaxing, anticipating the next couple of days. And until about 6:30, 7 o'clock at night, we were still alone in Boucher when two gentlemen came down in the dark. Yeah, they descended that last like 0.7 miles in the dark. I wouldn't have wanted to do that. Helped them find a camp spot as I was semi-familiar with the area, but it is still fun trying to figure out where stuff is in the dark, because if you've ever been in Boucher, you can't necessarily just see. It's overgrown and there's little paths that kind of go all over the place. So yeah, and they gave us a warning that coming down Boucher, they said, was beastly. And I'm like, oh. I mean, I was anticipating it. I have been down Boucher twice. It has been a few years and I haven't checked the date on those yet, so I will probably just kind of type that in as a, you know, little footnote, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, on day 7, we woke up and our goal was Boucher Camp to one of those lovely camp areas below Yuma Point on the Esplanade. Approximately 3.5 miles. It's really hard to tell. Our first obstacle was, well, obviously we had to climb back up to connect to Boucher again. You know, steep, but not too bad. And then we had, I call it the big white crack. Yeah, I was anticipating that. I was stressing out about that a little bit because when I've come down it twice before, it's been kind of like being the ball in a pinball machine. You know, you'll catch a tree and it'll kind of push you side to side, whatever. But I feel like climbing that was a total success. It was tedious. It took quite a while, but we did it. And then, yeah, then we came to what I thought was the Rockfall area. That wasn't the Rockfall area, and that I oopsed a little bit there. Kind of misread some cairns, but I mean, not more than 10 or 12 feet, you know, the wrong direction, which that's pretty good. And like, yay, we're done. We kind of, you know, went around and guess what? We came upon the actual rock slide area, and it was way sketchier than I remember. It was actually pretty unnerving, but we did it. And we got up to camp, and it was like total relief. It was amazing. There was water in those potholes, so we got to indulge a little bit in her coffee, and me, I had some iced tea. And then day 8 was from below Yuma Point out to the Hermit Trailhead, approximately 5.9 miles, and again, that took us a little bit longer than we thought. But yeah, we did it. I am home. I'm kind of hoping to do maybe like what food I brought video. I have a picture of it like strewn all over my bed, but I can give you a list of what I brought, what I actually ate, and maybe some calorie count. I know that calorie consumption varies from hiker to hiker, but I've got a few things rolling around in my head. But anyway, I'm home. We survived it. It was definitely interesting. I have never experienced 3 nights of rain in a row in the Grand Canyon. The little no-see-ums were absolutely vicious. I did better this time than normal, but they just annihilated my friend's arms and legs, and she didn't even know that she was getting like bit, stung, whatever. And yeah, we have the normal scrapes and bruises, but we are home. Now it's time to deal with the still slightly damp tents and all the very stinky clothes. So until next time, directionally challenged hiker. Oh, before I totally go away, my husband had gotten me this little InReach Mini by Garmin a few years ago, and it was amazing on this trip. I set up the plan where I had like quite a few like messages that I could send, so I had some fun sending my daughter messages, because when she opened them up, it showed her where I was at, and she could kind of see as I moved through my route. And also, I had like 10 weather reports included in the plan, and guess what? I used 3 or 4 of them, and it was really nice to know kind of what to anticipate. I mean, it's one thing if it's like, okay, yeah, it's going to be pretty decent, but yeah. So on a side note here, this was really worth it on this trip. So, okay, now I am signing off. Until next time, directionally challenged hiker. My brain just went out the window.